Welcome to the David Pakman Show. I am Benjamin Dixon filling in for David while he is away. There's a lot happening in the news that we should just get right down to it. The President of the United States has demonstrated once again that he does not have the temperament to serve in the office. Yesterday, in an impromptu meeting that he had in the Rose Garden, he demonstrated a level of belligerence and incoherence that should concern the American people. He was infuriated by the fact that Nancy Pelosi had the nerve to declare that he was involved in a cover-up. Well, if anyone has been following along this far, you understand while that is not an unreasonable statement from Nancy Pelosi, but it was a statement that clearly triggered the President of the United States because this is what he said in the Rose Garden. Take a listen in.
Things are going well, and I said, let's have the meeting on infrastructure. We'll get that done easily. That's one of the easy ones. And instead of walking in happily into a meeting, I walk in to look at people that had just said that I was doing a cover-up. I don't do cover-ups. You people know that probably better than anybody. I just wanted to let you know that I walked into the room and I told Senator Schumer, Speaker Pelosi, I want to do infrastructure. I want to do it more than you want to do it. I'd be really good at that. That's what I do. But you know what? You can't do it under these circumstances. So get these phony investigations over with.
So, Mr. President, Mr. I don't do cover-ups, he's using a lot of tactics here that really, clearly the President of the United States is lying. Clearly, he's involved in something because if the Mueller report exonerated him to the extent that he declared it exonerated him, he would have released those documents and completely put an end to all of this. The president was meeting with congressional leaders in order to discuss an infrastructure plan, and he was so bothered by what Nancy Pelosi said that he basically threw the entire meeting off. Now, I personally do not believe that the Democrats should give this president an inch. Not a single inch, because we are engaged in one of the most hyper-partisan eras in American history. And by giving the president an inch, giving them an opportunity to have a win, you are ensuring you're at least aiding and abetting his reelection. And dealing with the type of president who has no respect for institutional norms, he has zero respect for the rule of law, he has no respect for checks and balances. If you're not going to impeach him, you sure as hell should not give him anything to help him get reelected. So to me, that part is this entire conversation about an infrastructure bill is political malpractice, and it's irresponsible if you believe that the President of the United States is as much of a threat as he is. But I digress. I came to talk about today the president losing basically what's left of his little mind in the Rose Garden because he could not get away, essentially holding the American people hostage, saying that he will not work on an infrastructure program if the investigations continue. I'm not a legal scholar, but someone should look and see if that itself is a form of obstruction of justice, because he's essentially saying either you end this investigation or I'm not going to do anything for this country whatsoever, notwithstanding the fact that Democrats should not give him an inch on infrastructure. But I digress. This is what not Hillary Clinton, but Nancy Pelosi had to say about it.
For some reason, maybe it was lack of confidence on his part that he really couldn't match the greatness of the challenge that we have. Wasn't really respectful of the Congress and the White House working together. He just took a pass. And it just makes me wonder why he did that. In any event, I pray for the President of the United States, and I pray for the United States of America.
Now, I'll have a lot to say about Nancy Pelosi's last sentence, that she's going to pray for the president and for the United States of America. I know she was trying to convey a sense of somberness and a sense of seriousness about the situation, because the president is acting in such an erratic fashion that maybe we do need the intervention of a divine power. But we could also have the intervention of an impeachment proceeding, but that's not what I'm talking about in this segment. Here's the problem. Donald Trump does have an issue. He seems to be triggered more by women than anyone else, because by far and large, everyone is declaring that Donald Trump is engaged in a cover-up. Everyone is speaking to this. So many politicians, you even have Republicans speaking to this because it is obvious. Right? Again, I said it before. So many people have said it. If he was exonerated to the level with which he claims he was exonerated, he could end all of the conversations, all of the rumors, all of the backroom questioning that's going on right now. He can end it by releasing the unredacted Mueller report, but he's not going to do that. He is behaving. His behavior pattern suggests that he is seriously trying to cover up something or to avoid getting exposed. I want to play a clip from Chuck Schumer because he, unlike Nancy Pelosi, he actually put it into perfect context with one sentence. This is what he said.
To watch what happened in the White House would make your jaw drop.
And so that's the problem. That's the thing that's happening before our eyes. We are becoming so numb to the fact that we literally have an unstable man-child in the White House whose petulance has gotten to the point where he's going to hold the American people hostage to preserve himself. I do get the notion of self-preservation, but that's why we have checks and balances. The Republican Party does not have enough temerity or backbone to actually stand up to their dictator-in-chief, but we do have an opposition party that has the capacity to do so. And while they're waiting around, and perhaps the infrastructure offering to Donald Trump was merely a bait and switch. But I don't think so. I think the seriousness with which Nancy Pelosi was speaking sounds like she was seriously upset because they couldn't go forward with an infrastructure bill. But regardless, we have an opposition party who is not using the actual institutionalized methods at their disposal to at least bring forth articles of impeachment into this president so he can understand that he is not above the law. But right now, he's operating as if he's above the law. A few minutes ago, I spoke about the fact that I believe Donald Trump does have an issue with how women speak to him. There's a clip from Senator Stabenow that I want you to hear right now.
She's an incredibly smart woman, and she's tough. She will work with him, but she's very savvy, and I don't think he does well with strong, smart women.
So there you have it. You have a petulant man-child who's holding the United States hostage, and he will not move forward with improving the United States infrastructure unless we end the investigations, who is completely triggered because a woman of power and influence and intelligence challenges him. That is where we are in 2019. That is who conservatives elected in 2016, and that's who we have to do whatever we can when it comes to 2020, the election in 2020.
One of today's sponsors is Impeach the Card Slap Game. You can't slap Donald Trump in real life, but you can slap him in this really funny and intelligent two-player card game. And you can get it for 10% off at davidpakman.com/impeach. Impeach the Card Game is perfect for having friends over, hanging out with family members who have a sense of humor about Trump. We've been playing it at my place. I really don't think you'd be able to find a game that does a better job of satirizing today's political climate in such an intelligent way. I've had a ton of fun with it. I think you will too. You can tell a ton of time and careful thought went into the game design and the cartoon artwork and the humor. It never gets old because you're always discovering new jokes and political commentary in the game. We were talking to the creators of the game, and they said one of the goals was that players might even learn something new as they play. I think it would make a perfect gift for anyone, really of any political orientation, because of how clever it is. Don't forget, Father's Day is coming up. And when you go to davidpakman.com/impeach, you'll get 10% off the game, but you can also get 10% off any of the hilarious clothing and accessories in the online store, including t-shirts, coffee mugs, tote bags, all featuring funny original political cartoons about the president. Get a super fun and witty gift for yourself or someone you know, whether it's Impeach the Card Slap Game or any of the other awesome stuff in the gift shop, and get 10% off of all of it when you go to davidpakman.com/impeach.